Goombert, what are you doing here? I've been busy. Ding! Work? I'm killing demons. That's God's work. I have also been working on the script for the video. I just wanted to put the right amount of effort in to make sure that it's my magnum opus. I tried to make sure every video I make is my magnum opus. Yeah, I'll be honest, I just haven't had the same enthusiasm for this game that I had for the last one. That one I played since childhood and had fond memories of. This one I got at Walmart because I knew I wanted the first batch of reviews to be on movie games, and this one was on clearance. I'm pretty sure I paid less than $5 for it. I know, I just don't want to push out a video without care put into it. This is the worst pep talk I've ever heard. Oh, well, when you put it like that, it's still not very good, but I'm willing to listen to it. Let's get down to business. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Let's-a go. Welcome back, and thank you for your patience. In my last video, I did an in-depth review on the SpongeBob SquarePants movie video game for Game Boy Advance. It was a really fun game that I enjoyed going back and playing. This time, though, I'll be taking a look at a game that I don't have as much history with, but I'm interested in because of my enjoyment of the film it's based on, and the fact that I also just enjoy Lego games. The Lego Movie Videogame. Oh, wait, no, sorry, I should address it by its full title. Lego, the Lego Movie Videogame. They really put the Lego logo next to the film's title for whatever reason. I'm guessing they did this to show that it was in the same vein as other Lego games like Lego Star Wars, Lego Batman, Lego Marvel, etc. But honestly, it just comes across as redundant and unnecessary. Speaking of redundant and unnecessary, I've decided that I will be addressing the game by its full title every time I have to address it. Too late, I'm committed to it. I would also like to take this moment to apologize for the audio quality of the footage. I recorded it with my old capture card, which is a USB 3.0 HDMI video capture. It was cheaper than an Elgato, and I can see why. It gave everything it recorded an echo for whatever reason. It wasn't too noticeable on the GBA footage because of the sound font of a Game Boy Advance, but when used on a PS4 that has actual voice dialogue and better audio capability...
Have to stop him from getting the Craggle.
Good luck. I've got like dozens of robots. Destroy them!
It is extremely noticeable. I did want to go back and record it because my brother got me an Elgato for Christmas along with the microphone, but when I tried to record the PS4 through it, it told me to go myself. I could try to fix it in settings, but that would delay the video even more, so I've just decided to accept it and move on. It's time to get into the story of Lego, the Lego Movie Videogame. Also, just like in my last review, this alarm will go off every time the game deviates from the film story. However, during certain instances, I will go more in depth, as I feel some of these changes actually hurt the game's pacing. However, don't worry too much about it going off script. They use actual scenes from the film as cutscenes in this game. And since I can't show these, I'm gonna have to just use screenshots because I'm not busting out MS Paint for every single cutscene in this game. The opening section of the game is not a level, but rather a small one-room area that serves as a prologue that covers the beginning of the film where Vitruvius fights Lord Business to stop him from getting the Craggle. During this, you play as Vitruvius, Cleopatra, and Shakespeare. They include these extra characters because there's a rule in all LEGO games. There will always be at least 2 playable characters at any given moment. So why 2 extra characters in this case? That is a good question. I think Cleopatra has a pretty good gameplay reason for being here. She has a specific gameplay mechanic tied to her that Vitruvius doesn't. She can jump higher because she's a girl. Don't ask me how that works. I don't understand LEGO biology. Shakespeare, on the other hand, doesn't have anything unique to him at all. Not unless you count jokes about wanting to turn this into a play, or snarky comments about Lord Business's attack strategy being unoriginal. Lord Business's attack plan just boils down to him sending in robots to fight you and then destroying terrain with a laser pointer. You then rebuild that destroyed terrain into weapons to attack him, and after a couple times, you get introduced to one of this game's new mechanics, master building. And by introduced, I mean teased, because we have a plot to follow. Vitruvius loses the fight, gets blinded, Lord Business gets the Craggle, and Cleopatra and Shakespeare disappear. Thank you for everything you did to help us, Cleopatra. One more thing to note, they for whatever reason replaced all of the robots' voices with a more monotone one in the cutscenes compared to the film.
Can you feel me?
I can feel you.
Can you feel me?
I can feel you.
With that section done, we are now properly introduced to Emmett in the first of this game's hub worlds, Bricksburg. Something that this game does really well is its environments. Most LEGO games drop the characters in normal-looking environments with LEGO objects scattered throughout to interact with. But the developers of Lego the Lego Movie Videogame took the time to make everything look like it's made of Legos. Gates and fences are represented by specific pieces. Inclines have cylindrical connector pieces in front of them. We can see the individual tiles, and everything has a plastic sheen to it. Even the particle effects are Lego pieces. This attention to detail was even carried over to the characters themselves. In other LEGO games, the characters move around like they have actual bones and muscles. But in Lego the Lego Movie Videogame, they move around like actual LEGO minifigures, with their arms and legs being stiff and only able to move forwards and backwards. All of this is very in line with the film and a very nice attention to detail. Back to Bricksburg. To start things off, you play as Emmett and one of his co-workers as they head to work. As a construction worker, Emmett is able to repair broken machinery, which you have to do in order to reach the first level. But before getting into the first level, let's actually talk about what Bricksburg has going for it. It's a small portion of a city consisting of 2 square plazas connected by a diagonal road. In terms of defining landmarks, there's the police station and also the construction site. The only thing of actual note here is this little box that you can go to type in cheat codes. But I never used it. Winners don't cheat. Shut up, Goombert. On to... I said shut up! On to the first level, Bricksburg Construction. At the start of this level, we are introduced to another new mechanic of Lego the Lego Movie Videogame, building from instructions. This is something only construction workers like Emmett are able to do. Throughout the game, you'll find these blue and orange plots on the ground. You will need to collect the specified amount of instruction pages throughout the level before you're able to interact with them. Once you have the instruction pages, you're able to play a brief minigame, during which you have to select the correct piece within the time limit. The more pages you have to collect, the more pieces you have to place. The faster you complete the puzzle, the more studs that you'll earn. Studs being the currency that you find in every Lego game. Studs come in 4 different colors, and each color is worth a different amount. Silver is worth 10, gold is worth 100, blue is worth 1,000, and purple is worth 10,000. Not only are you incentivized to collect these to buy characters and extras, but also to fill out the stud meter at the top of the screen on every level. These appear in every Lego game, and they always have a unique, fun message that plays when you fill it out. Lego Star Wars had True Jedi, Lego Indiana Jones had True Adventurer. I wonder what Lego the Lego Movie Videogame says when you... Okay, I admit I have Asperger's and ADHD, but you don't have to be rude about it. Moving on to the next part, we unlock a new tool for Emmett and the other construction workers to use throughout the duration of Lego the Lego Movie Videogame. A pneumatic drill. Alright, I looked it up, it's real, but the thing in Lego the Lego Movie video game looks more like a jackhammer. Well, whatever it is, you need to use it to break cracked tiles that can be found at various points on the ground or walls. After using our drill to break a weird-looking house, Emmett and Gale are then told to collect instruction pages in order to build a wrecking ball. Oh, and also Gale has been here the whole time. 2 of the pages are collected by completing tasks around the construction site. But one of the pages can only be obtained by playing a rhythm game set to the first verse of Everything is Awesome. I specify the use of only the first verse because that seems to be all they were allowed to use for Lego the Lego Movie video game. The credits for Lego the Lego Movie video game are 8 minutes and 19 seconds, and throughout the entirety of it, they just play the first verse of Everything is Awesome on loop. Yes, I did sit through the entirety of the credits to find that out. Yes, I am sick of that song now. Yes, I do hate myself for doing that. How did you know? I'm aware. Back to the rhythm game, you get studs for every correct button press and more studs the better your timing is. If you get perfect timing 3 times or more during this minigame, you'll get one of Lego the Lego Movie video game's main collectibles, a pair of pants. There is a pair of pants hidden in every single level. When worn by the character, they give them a unique effect or ability. There's a closet next to the portals in the hub worlds that let you change into these at any time, but I'm gonna be honest, these aren't that good. The only time I ever went out of my way to use these was to get the footage that you are currently watching of me using them. Some of the pants aren't even useful and are just included as a joke. Like the stinky pants that just make people walk away from you in the hub world when you get near them. And the pants that do contain useful abilities like flight are made redundant by the fact that there are characters who can already fly. Or things like fast build being made redundant by the fact that there's very limited opportunities to actually use it. All in all, the pants are just kind of a pointless inclusion. I usually just ignore them unless I'm going for completion. After collecting all the instruction pages, you build the wrecking ball, knock down a building through a brief minigame, and then we end this section of the level. We then get a cutscene of Emmett going after Wildstyle after he sees her enter the construction site, only for her to run off and Emmett falls down a hole, beginning the final section of the level. I really gotta give the devs credit, they actually recreated the part of the hole with the impractical angles in-game. But I gotta take that credit right back because this happened when I was recording the footage. Yeah, that was a little immersion breaking, not gonna lie. But it was funny, so I'll give you that. Oh, and, beep, I guess. We'll just check in on that Emmett later. In the meantime, a different Emmett has landed at the bottom of the hole and found the piece of resistance, and become the Special. It's okay when I say it. This ends the first level, and now that we have beaten it in story mode, we unlock free play mode. If you've played a Lego game before, you know what this is. Basically, we can go back at any time and play through it with any characters that we have unlocked. And just like in other Lego games, we will also unlock golden bricks for completing certain tasks in the level, such as getting the Special, finding the pants, and finding the 5 gold instruction pages. Those last ones are basically Lego the Lego Movie video game's version of mini-kits. You'll be able to find them here and there in story mode, but you'll have to go through free play in order to get them all. Collecting all of the golden instruction pages in a level will let you build a special object in the bonus room. This is based off of Emmett's mind room from the film. It's a black void with a glowing blue floor and an instruction build platform in the middle. Nothing of note. At the start, that is. We'll get to that. You can't tell, but I'm winking under the mask. The next level takes place at the police station. But in between every level, you will be taken to the hub world, even when it doesn't make sense story-wise. What really doesn't make sense is that Gale is here. She doesn't even remember that Emmett exists. So her joining Wildstyle on this rescue mission doesn't make any sense. Well, she's gone by the time we start the actual level, so whatever. In order to reach the actual level, you have to scale the police station using the acrobatic skills that all girl Legos, and the Green Ninja for some reason, have. For some reason. These skills include swinging from poles, climbing walls that have pink and blue pieces in them, and jumping between blue and pink walls. Once there, we start the actual level. Escape from Bricksburg. After failing to interrogate Emmett, Bad Cop hooks him up to a machine to kill him with a laser pointer, only for Wildstyle to swoop in and save his life, and take every opportunity possible to refer to him as Sir.
I'm here to rescue you, sir. Very funny, sir. Sir, we've got to knock out that missile launcher. This laser should be able to destroy it, sir. Good idea, sir.
I get it. You don't know his name, but you want to be respectful. But you could just ask for his name. Actually, wait, she doesn't need to. He's wearing a name tag. Also, now is probably a good time to mention that non-master builder characters, like Emmett, can't build without instructions. This means that you'll need to use a master builder character to even do regular building, not just master building. It makes sense from a narrative perspective. Lord Business basically outlawed creativity, so the average person wouldn't know what to do with just random pieces laying around. And in Lego the Lego Movie Videogame, there are distinct puzzles designed around each kind of building, so I think it's a justifiable change to the Lego formula in certain instances. I will admit that it does feel a little lazy when the items that you have to use for master building are just sitting in the middle of the room and you just have to walk up to them. Wildstyle rebuilds the laser so you can use it now. And just like in other Lego games, it can be used to destroy or break through golden pieces. Now that he's free, Emmett and Wildstyle have to work together to try and escape through the police station's roof using their unique skills, such as Wildstyle's acrobatics or Emmett's construction equipment. We're also introduced to dash panels that let you run along walls to reach new areas if you're an acrobatic character. Using all that stuff to escape through the ceiling brings us to the next section of the level where we're in an alleyway, and it's here we finally get to see master building actually used to completion. Wildstyle builds a big motorcycle and we begin the final section of the level. A high-speed chase through downtown where Emmett drives the motorcycle while Wildstyle jumps from vehicle to vehicle. After driving for a while, you'll get into a fight with the helicopter that's backed up by police cars. I'd call it a boss fight, but there isn't really much strategy to it. You just shoot the cars near it until they blow up, and then the helicopter will show its weak spot. After a couple more platforming sections, 2 more helicopters show up, accompanied by a car hauler and multiple robots. We're instructed to destroy all the cars on the car hauler in order to use it as a ramp. You know, I'm starting to see why they want to arrest us. We are then prompted to use the helicopters and the motorcycle in a master building sequence that is way more cinematic than any of the other ones in Lego the Lego Movie Videogame. This is also the only cutscene in the entirety of Lego the Lego Movie Videogame that was made in Engine, so I am free to show it to you. With the level over, Wildstyle turns the motorcycle into a jet and we fly off into the night sky. We then immediately land back in Bricksburg in the middle of the day, right in front of the police station that we just escaped from. I know I already mentioned that the hub world segments don't always mesh well with the story, but later in the game we see that they are able to change the time of day in them, so this discrepancy just seems weird. Because if I don't, who will? After the jet drops you off, it flies a couple feet away and walking up to it starts the next level, which just makes me wonder what was the point of dropping us off. Anyways, cutscene time, back to night, and Wildstyle finds out Emmett isn't actually special. Then we are quite literally dropped into the next level, Flatbush Gulch. The level starts out as a long, winding, colorful tube, before transitioning to sliding down a mountain filled with mine shafts. Wildstyle is the better character to use for this part because she is more agile and thus able to move around more easily. This is even reflected in their animations. Wildstyle slides down the hill while staying upright on her feet, while Emmett rolls and tumbles down the entire time. I also really enjoy the things going on in the background of this section. We pass by cowboys, Indians, and a train before finally landing on the ground in the Old West. Before Emmett and Wildstyle can even begin to talk about what just happened to them, they have to fight some robots. In order to blend in better, we're prompted to build a wagon and have to collect instruction pages in order to do it. One of these you get by simply entering a shed, but the second one is a bit trickier to obtain. You have to trick a dynamite-throwing robot into hitting the silver blocks at the bottom of the wind pump he's standing on. If you've played a Lego game before, you'd know that only explosives can destroy silver blocks. This is actually something that gets brought back later in the level, so it's nice that they introduce it earlier on. After destroying the silver blocks, we can finally get on top of the wind pump and grab the final page. This allows us to build the wagon, which not only gives us disguises, but also Guns. With their disguises on, they enter the town. Keeping the plot moving, we enter the saloon in order to find Vitruvius. Not really much of notice happens in the saloon. We fight robots, fight another dynamite guy, do some master building, and Emmett kills a man with a chandelier.
Let's see what this does.
The ending cutscene is really weird. Vitruvius doesn't immediately recognize Wildstyle. Makes sense, he is blind. Until she tells him, "It's me." With the level over, we enter the second hub world, the Old West. This hub world isn't that large compared to Bricksburg. This one seems to be the smallest hub world in the game, only being one small room. There are a few things of note here, like the saloon in the middle of the town and the train station. But the main thing of note here is a movie theater that lets you re-watch the Lego Movie Videogame's cutscenes. Hang on one second. Okay. Technically historically accurate, but just barely. But the inclusion of a movie theater in the Lego Movie Videogame confuses me. Not every Lego game lets you re-watch the game's cutscenes. For instance, Lego Batman 3 Beyond Gotham is a Lego game that came out in the same year as Lego Movie Videogame. That game had a completely original story, but didn't let you re-watch its cutscenes. But Lego Movie Videogame, on the other hand, has all of its cutscenes ripped directly from another source, being the Lego Movie. Even though they are slightly edited, I feel like having these to re-watch at your leisure would hurt the film's sales, wouldn't it? I admit this isn't the best way to experience the film's story, but it's still a weird thing to do. Well, whatever. Let's just continue with the story. Going to Vitruvius' room starts the next level, Flatbush Rooftops. The building gets surrounded by Bad Cop and a bunch of robots, which prompts us to, like the name of the level implies, run across the rooftops to try and get away. We also get to play as Vitruvius again, and despite being blind now, he is still able to master build. They actually introduce a new ability for Vitruvius based off of his disability, Blind Courage. Every now and then you'll come across these thin blue and white ledges that overlook incredibly deadly obstacles. Fire, lava, sharks, basically anything that would make normal people run the other way. But since Vitruvius is blind, he can cross these without hesitation. And during the story, they always have Vitruvius describe exactly what's below him as a hypothetical during each of these sections. Yes, I get it. Comedy is subjective, but my opinion on this subject is that this joke isn't that funny and is repeated way too much. It's fine when it's as simple as him questioning why it's so hot when he's above a fire, but when it goes as far as having him describe exactly what's below him in great detail as a hypothetical, I couldn't help but groan and roll my eyes a little. I guess it kinda helps the joke when the other characters chime in. I remember on at least 2 occasions they question if he's actually blind when he does this, which was enough to make me exhale slightly through my nose, but I just think this joke kind of overstays its welcome. Exactly, that is the perfect comparison. This level also brings back another staple of the Lego games, pushing block puzzles. Yay! Push the block along the checkered floor from one spot to another. I'll be honest, I'm trying really hard to figure out what to say without just regurgitating what's on screen. You see more abilities from Vitruvius. He's able to throw his staff into holes for acrobatic characters to swing from. That's a nice recurring thing. And they spice up master building a bit by introducing sequences that you have to use an enemy as one of the pieces in. You have to stun them before you can throw them into the build, or you could try to do it fast enough before they can kill you. I wasn't fast enough. They introduced this by having you build a bridge, and I think it's cute that they just kind of place his head, torso, and legs on the side of it. It's like they know they didn't actually need him for it, but it just adds a certain flair to it, you know? Unfortunately, not every master build sequence that uses an enemy as a piece incorporates their pieces into the final build. Eventually, you'll have a boss fight against Sheriff Not a Robot. And by boss fight, I mean he sends in a bunch of robots to fight you for him. He just sits in the corner the whole time and shoots you if you get too close. They really made a whole entrance scene with robots stacking themselves into a bridge for this one thematically appropriate robot just for him to not do anything. He doesn't even fight you after you beat his goons. You just build a machine that knocks down the water tower onto him. Also, that robot bridge he used to get here, it just decides to stop existing. The last section of the level is an on-rail shooter where Emmett wields a minigun and Vitruvius throws dynamite while Wildstyle steers the wagon. Did any of those sound like a good idea for a blind man to be doing? All you do in this section is take out waves of enemies until the level ends. The next level is Escape from Flatbush. This level takes place entirely on 2 trains, while Bad Cop follows you throughout the level in his flying car, and offers a great mix of puzzle solving and platforming. However, I do have one complaint. At 2 points during this level, one character has to go ahead of the group and solve puzzles to clear a path for the others. Now, if you're playing single player like me, this won't be an issue, but I imagine that if you were playing in co-op mode, it would be boring watching one player go on ahead of you, while someone else gets stuck mindlessly mashing the same button to fight off a couple of robots. Not that I ever have to worry about experiencing that. The level ends with Bad Cop trying to run you over, but Emmett and Vitruvius step out of the way while Wildstyle builds a ramp and decides to stop existing. After the characters get surprised by Bad Cop's flying car that he's been using this whole time, he blows up the bridge, causing our heroes to fall to their deaths. But don't worry, they get saved by Batman! The GOAT has arrived. Batman makes everything better. Who doesn't like Batman? You know, besides Rocksteady. The next level is Cloud Cuckoo Land. The omission of most of the film's soundtrack comes across as a jarring decision when they decide to include scenes like the opening cutscene to this level. In the film, Batman was loudly playing a song he wrote for Wildstyle over the speakers in his car. They removed that song in Lego the Lego Movie Videogame and replaced it with a song that has no lyrics. They, for whatever reason, kept in the bit where he says, "It's about how I'm an orphan," and then they start mouthing out lyrics that aren't there anymore. You know, the joke doesn't land as well when you take the substance out of it. On to the actual level. The opening section of the level takes place on a bunch of barren clouds that have windmills, kites, and balloons strewn about. We also get to play as Batman now. The best way to describe this Batman, in my opinion, is a more simplified version of the one from the Lego Batman games. In terms of his abilities in this game, he can target objects with the Batarang and grapple onto specific yellow pieces. He's also a master builder. We are also introduced to another of Vitruvius' abilities, the Secret Knock. Yeah, they turned that whole joke where he knocks on a wall once to open a secret passage into a whole ability for him. I think it shows that the developers of Lego the Lego Movie Videogame really cared about faithfully representing the film to the point where small things like brief jokes become important aspects of the characters. Entering the secret door brings us into Cloud Cuckoo Land proper. And we are now joined by Unikitty! Yeah! Unikitty has the unique ability of being able to break and build with rainbow-colored bricks. We get to make use of this a couple of times throughout the level. Also, if you hold down the action button while playing as her, you get a reticle that when targeting something will make her pounce at it. Progressing through the level is pretty simple. You do some puzzle solving, some platforming, help 2 robots find love, bada bing bada boom, giant toaster. Then we find a big bird. It certainly sounds like I am, doesn't it? The film made it very clear that Cloud Cuckoo Land is a very nonsensical place. And Lego the Lego Movie Videogame did a great job capturing that aspect about this place. I mean, how many of the things that I just described were even slightly coherent? After reaching the bird and getting a handle for the jack-in-the-box that's in front of it, it will allow Batman to get up there and help you progress.
I hate clowns.
I understood that reference. And, then this happened. Pretty sure it wasn't supposed to, but it did. Yeah, a lot of weird things happened in this room. That egg falling out of the armpit thing. I accidentally made Vitruvius perpetually respawn and fall off the edge for a minute and a half straight. And I was leaving to go to the final section of this level through a slide. This happened.
I have to go now. My planet needs me.
How many glitches are there in Lego the Lego Movie Videogame? On that note, how is Falling Emmett doing? Hang in there, Emmett, you're almost done. The final section of the level has us in front of a giant jukebox with a pink elephant head inside of it. We could actually see this portion from a distance in an earlier section of the level. Details like this are the Lego Movie Videogame's core strengths, in my opinion. We also see the Lego game's sense of humor on display when we have to build a giant mouse to scare the elephant to collect the instruction pieces to beat the level. After this, we enter the next hub world, Cloud Cuckoo Land, home to all sorts of lovable characters, and this waste of plastic from the start of the game. There is something of note in this world, but we can't access it yet. This feature is inside of the dog, and going there starts the next level, Attack on Cloud Cuckoo Land. And already the funniest part about this level is that they blurred out Milhouse and cropped the footage to hide Michelangelo in the opening cutscene for copyright reasons. The basic premise of this level is that Emmett, Batman, and Unikitty are captured when Bad Cop invades Cloud Cuckoo Land. So you have to play as Wildstyle and Vitruvius to rescue them. Also, early in the level, Vitruvius gives you a warning that lasers can destroy gold Lego bricks. Strange for two reasons. Reason 1, we already learned that in level 2. Reason 2, he actually says Lego out loud. It just feels weird hearing the characters actually say Lego. Yes, they are made of Legos, but they never drew attention to this. They just accepted it as their reality, but when he says Legos are a thing that actually exist as a concept in their world, and not just the natural order of things, it makes me feel... Ahem. Thank you. Furthermore, Jessica and Miles get their first and last names, but Paviter only gets his first name, and Miguel gets labeled as 2099. There was just no consistency at all to how they labeled these characters. What do you think, Goombert? Well, yeah, we were talking about that earlier, weren't we? The first character we find is Batman after you put out a fire, but you can't rescue him yet. You'll need a drill, which Emmett has, so you have to go find Emmett. Side note, Vitruvius is pointing out a lot of things in this level which should be really hard for someone to do if they're blind.
What was that?
One of Lord Business's micromanagers. Hang on. There's a secret passage behind this wall.
This is embarrassing. Can you guys help me out?
Not without a drill.
Eventually, you'll find Emmett being held by a micromanager, and you have to switch over to him to beat its claw with Emmett's wrench to get free. Feels like I didn't need to be over here for him to do that, but whatever. We bring Emmett back to Batman, free him, and now we can progress. After that, we find a big baby bird that we have to save from some micromanagers. The ones from earlier were beaten through scripted sequences. This one is one you actually have to fight. You'll first have to stun them with a ranged weapon and then grapple onto the hooks on their back in order to beat them. After beating all of them, the big bird from the last level shows up, grabs you and its baby, and takes you to the next section of the level.
I am this bird poop. I will not be happy.
During this section, you'll find Unikitty trapped in a cage. Walking up to her triggers a conversation that not only frees her, but gives her a new ability, Angry Kitty. In this form, she can kill normal enemies in one hit, destroy normal objects just by walking into them, and shoot fire in small bursts. There is one drawback though. She can't do any sort of building while in this form. This form is tied to the same button as building. Do you see the issue here? On multiple occasions, I've tried using Unikitty to build, but ended up turning into Angry Kitty because I was in just the wrong spot and held the button down too long. And Angry Kitty isn't like the different forms that you see in the Lego DC or Lego Marvel games, where you can just switch in and out of a form at the press of a button. This thing is on a time limit that you have to wait out before she reverts back to normal. The duration of the form is prolonged by moving around and attacking. So if you want her to change back, have fun standing around and doing nothing for 20 seconds. I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry, I'm just not used to hearing you agree with me. There's also a new type of micromanager that we have to fight, the Walker. This one is a bit more engaging than the ones that we fought earlier. Those ones could easily be beaten by Batman alone, but this one will require you to use at least 2 characters. You'll have to climb on its back as an acrobat character to turn a wheel on its head to knock it over, so a construction worker can burrow into its brain. After solving a few more puzzles, the level ends and we get introduced to the next member of our team, Benny. With the introduction of Benny, I've decided I'm going to take a moment to talk about the voice acting in Lego the Lego Movie Videogame, to showcase just how good it is. Lego the Lego Movie Videogame uses sound-alikes because none of the actors from the film reprised their roles, except for Gandalf's actor Todd Hansen, who had a total of 9 words throughout the entire film. These sound-alikes did a great job emulating the actors from the film. For example, the actor who played Benny, Mark Silverman, did such a good job that it made me realize Charlie Day played Benny in the film, which I didn't know prior. Honestly, it just shows how talented you are as a voice actor when you can perfectly emulate someone else's voice. Good job, Mark. Now that Benny is on our team, we can now build a submarine to escape this burning and collapsing city. But screw that, it's Hubworld time. Well, they don't completely ignore what just happened. It's sunset now. Since the last story level began right whenever we walked up to the dog, we never actually got to see what was inside. But now that we have nothing else going on, someone help us! The end is near! We can explore at our leisure. Inside of the dog, we find the character customizer, a major feature of every mainline Lego game, except for that one. Like in the other Lego games, you can create your own character from miscellaneous pieces to use in the hub worlds or levels. The abilities your character has are dependent on what pieces you use. This encourages you to use a bunch of different pieces to see what you get. But honestly, the amount of pieces you can use is pretty limiting, and this just wasn't that interesting. I messed around with it for a couple minutes, but ended up ignoring it and the character I created for the rest of the playthrough. But I did flex my creativity a little bit. I made a Shy Guy. Getting back to the plot. To progress, we have to make use of Benny's main ability. Every now and then you'll come across these blue and white computer terminals that Benny is able to interact with. He can use these to open paths and doors and even take control of enemies sometimes. But in order to activate them, you have to play a minigame that has you navigate a maze and avoid enemies. Sort of. Rather than clearing the board of studs, your goal is to reach the red cores and destroy them. With such a simple goal, you'll probably want to rush through these as fast as possible. If you're stupid! But you're not stupid. You're smart, and I love you. Oh, sorry. There are studs scattered around the maze that you are going to want to collect. Collecting the blue studs will give you a temporary speed boost, and collecting all of the studs on the board makes a purple stud appear in the center. These really help when trying to get the special in levels that they appear in. And on top of that, the speed boosts are helpful in evading the enemies from these sections, the megabytes. The megabytes. You see, it's hip because they use a 1 instead of an I. Please laugh. If these guys catch you, you'll be sent back to the starting points, and all the studs that you've collected will be reset. And yes, that is starting points, plural. You can have 2 players during these sections. The starting points are these 2 blue bricks at the bottom of the maze. These squares and the single space in between them are completely safe as enemies can't cross them. This minigame is an enjoyable change of pace from Lego the Lego Movie Videogame's normal gameplay, and they don't overstay their welcome at all. Also, not an ability, but I love how Benny has a slightly slower walking animation with longer strides to simulate walking in a low-gravity environment. Wildstyle and Unikitty also get spacesuit variants, and this detail was carried over to them. I'm just a sucker for little things like that. Time for the next level, Escape from Cloud Cuckoo Land. In this level, you play as each of the group's master builders as they use their unique abilities to build their own portion of the sub. All this while the sub is endlessly sliding down a hill with robots boarding the sub to attack you. This level has a lot going on in the background of it. One of my favorite parts happens just after you finish Batman's portion of the sub. A bridge gets caught on top of the submarine, and when you climb it to fight some robots, you'll see the 2 big robots from the first Cloud Cuckoo Land level appear riding a giant heart. Aww. Unfortunately, that heart is immediately broken in half and they fall to their deaths. Aww. The last section of the level has a chunk of a building ram into the back of the sub, and you have to traverse it to gather materials for Unikitty's part, even taking control of a micromanager in order to do so. With everyone's portion done, the sub is complete and the level ends. Now we find ourselves in a new part of the Cloud Cuckoo Land hub world. This one is burning and partially sunk into the water. probably because of
We're doomed.
After walking around for a bit and then switching one of your characters to wild style because you need an acrobat to open the path to the next level, so you gotta wonder why there wasn't one in the lineup in the first place, you'll reach the sub that we were just riding in. When did we get out? Walking up to it starts the next level, the depths. This level warrants more discussion than a simple from the canon inconsistency alarm. The opening cutscene depicts events from the film, everybody panicking as the sub takes on water, but the actual level has Benny and Vitruvius get separated from the group and have to navigate the area inside and outside of the sub in order to reunite with them. The entire level's premise is a detour to the plot of the film that Lego the Lego Movie Videogame is adapting. This level is such a sidestep of the plot that some of the footage from the opening cutscene even appears in the ending cutscene. I guess during that split second when this wall broke, that Benny and Vitruvius had this whole adventure on their own, and we didn't notice. The actual level has you start out by navigating the submarine, going through rooms built by Vitruvius and Wildstyle. We find out that we have to go around the long way to reach the others. Our characters decide to take the airlock in the torpedo room, and after pressing a couple buttons in there, random scuba divers will barge in and assault you. Not even robots, just a bunch of random guys show up and try to kill you. We're in international waters, anything goes, I guess. Well, I assumed most people I meet, until now. After a failed attempt to save the sub with a torpedo, the sub is flooded. And now that the submarine is flooded, the devs decide to introduce a bunch of new mechanics that are only in this level. And this level's events have nothing to do with the film. It feels like they made more work for themselves than they needed to. Now we can swim around freely, but we have limited oxygen. Your character's 4 hearts are now an air meter that has to be refilled periodically. You can do this by swimming into the blue hearts that come out of bubbling terrain and clams. These basically function like the air bubbles from the underwater sections of Sonic games. And by that I mean they function identically to those. Grabbing one will completely reset the timer, but it's honestly not that big of a deal. This is because Lego the Lego Movie Videogame is a Lego game. I know, shocking. And because of that, dying doesn't really have much consequence here. You'll just drop a few studs and respawn a short distance away. There isn't really much of a challenge to it. Hey, Lego the Lego Movie Videogame is not made for small children. It's E10+. That's a big boy game rating. After exiting the sub, you'll have to swim through narrow corridors that have more homicidal maniacs in scuba gear shooting at you from the background, as well as schools of fish that will push you back if you get caught in them. After the corridor ends, you'll end up in a wide open area with Cloud Cuckoo Land's ruins in the background. You know, because of... There's even a completely unique enemy here. A giant robot swordfish. Makes more sense than those scuba-clad psychopaths. And unlike those scuba-clad psychopaths, this enemy isn't one you can just beat up. You instead have to get it to lock onto you and trick it into hitting a target to open the path forward. The next section has you swimming through dark trenches with the only source of illumination being seaweed and Vitruvius' sucker staff. How it's just a sucker. This area is very short and ends after you get past the pufferfish and eels that pop out of the floor and ceiling. During the final stretch, light returns as we make our way through a couple more eels and murderers before making it to the sub's rear entrance, thus ending the second most unnecessary level in Lego the Lego Movie Videogame. Oh, we'll get to that. Now that we're back in the hub world, you're probably wondering how to obtain the characters that aren't obtained through the story. Well, I'm glad you decided to ask that 9 levels into this 15-level game. Provided you have the studs, you can purchase them at any time in the character select menu, or, such as the case with this one, you can just walk up to them in the hub world and purchase them. Say hello to the newest member of our team, Showering Emmett. This is an actual character in Lego the Lego Movie Videogame. Everything but his head is obscured by particle effects, but at certain angles you can actually see his body. He is for some reason wearing his underwear, despite the fact he is showering. I'm starting to think those scuba divers weren't the only psychopaths here. But hey, if you don't care about Showering Emmett, there's over 90 characters to choose from. We could try out Lizard Emmett, or Clown Emmett, or Surgeon Emmett. 14 of these are Emmett, by the way. I'm not saying things like this are bad or anything unique to Lego the Lego Movie Videogame. Just about every Lego game has a bit of filler in their rosters. Lego Batman 1 had the Yeti. Lego Marvel Avengers had Beth the Waitress. And Lego Star Wars had... Okay, that one was not filler. He was the key to all of this. Most of the characters included in Lego the Lego Movie Videogame are from the film or accompanying sets. But be honest, Did we really need Emmett with the Lego piece on his back in the roster? Now that we're back in the hub world, we just need to use Batman's physics-defying grappling hook to open a path to the next level. Like, I know this is probably on me for activating it in a spot I wasn't supposed to be in, but this just looks weird. That's not how physics work. This is beyond absurd. Where is the realism in this game about sentient plastic? Oh, hey, a Yeti. The next level is Infiltrate the Octan Tower. The start of the level is on Metalbeard's ship, and you have to collect instruction pages to build an Octan spaceship. After collecting the pages by solving puzzles that we've done before, we easily build the spaceship. And we head off to the next part of the level. And now that we're actually inside of Octan Tower, I have something to actually talk about. We get to play as Metalbeard now. And he is huge. He can shoot cannonballs to destroy silver objects and can pick up enemies to throw them. They even introduce targets specifically for him to throw enemies into in this level. How do the people who work here use this elevator? Do they have to launch a coworker into the target? Also, remember those micromanagers that you needed Batman to grapple onto to beat from earlier? Well, Metalbeard can destroy them immediately with a cannonball. You're probably wondering, is there anything he can't do? A few things, actually. He can't do either type of building, he can't interact with save points, and he can't even jump. Such a sad existence he lives. Then again, I can't imagine it's a very pleasant existence when everything but your head and organs are prosthetics. Solve some puzzles, blow up a door, on to the last section, Lord Business's Trophy Room. This is a very short section, but it is noteworthy due to the use of real-world objects during the puzzles. They also get a lot of mileage out of master building in this one section. I mean, they were right to use master building for it, that's the only way I can imagine them interacting with real-world objects. But this animation makes no sense. Even though they're only throwing up one solid object, they wave their arms around like they're throwing up multiple pieces. And then one of the last things you have to use master building for is to build a keypad to turn off the laser security system. But this keypad is just a calculator, and the cord they plugged it into is made of Legos. Also, why do the Legos on the wall shoot actual lasers? If these real-world objects are any indication, this is the real world, but it's shown to be a kid's imagination in the film. Where is the line between reality and fantasy drawn? Where does it... And instead of important characters like Peter B. Parker or Hobie Brown, we get Cyborg Spider-Man, a frickin' background character. Who was making these decisions? The what? Oh, that's right. Thank you for reminding me. They get the tinfoil from the end of the trophy room to make their disguises, and everybody goes off to fulfill their part of the plan. Except for Vitruvius. He forgot what he was supposed to do. We are now in the Octan Tower. We have fulfilled the title of the last level. For the final hub world in the game, this place is actually pretty boring. It's just a bunch of red and black hallways with a bunch of robots walking around. Security is pretty lax here. I broke in. Why aren't they attacking me? I mean, this level has some pretty good continuity. We can actually see the trophy room that we just came from, and you can even find the think tank in here. But this place doesn't really stand out in any meaningful way. It doesn't even house any features like the cheat code station, the scene theater, or the character creator. And it's not an interesting set piece like a city in the clouds of random objects or a small western town. This is just an office space. This world probably just exists out of necessity for this part of the story. It's just there. And that's all I can really say about it. The next level is called Put the Thing on the Thing. The first section has Emmett and Wildstyle infiltrate the factory in disguises as the robots are building a sound system for the Cragalizer. Most of this section is just finding ways to distract the robots and clear a path to the areas you need to get to. It ultimately culminates in creating a giant jukebox and repeating that rhythm game from the first level. Holy shit, the bar is green now! I mean, yeah, that too, but the green bar! I take back every criticism I had for this game. It's perfect! Thank goodness the green bar and that other thing I don't care about are there, because if it weren't for those, this would just be the exact same minigame as before. Right down to their insistence on only using the first verse of the same song that I'm not allowed to play or risk the wrath of Warner Bros. Music. While the robots are distracted with dancing, we move on to the next section. In this part, Batman and the disguised Emmett have to reach the Craggle by running across the gantry? Here's your vocab word for the day. One of the obstacles found in the Craggle room was actually something that was mentioned in the film, audio sensors. But despite this, the characters still speak at a normal volume when conversing with each other. All they really amount to is a few sections on these walkways where Lego the Lego Movie Videogame forces you to tiptoe past these thingamajigs. I don't know what else to call them, okay? The walkways also have a scrolling red panel that you have to avoid or else you'll be booted off of the walkway and enemies will be called in. But other than a scripted section at the start where Batman rushes ahead and gets caught, I don't think I ever triggered it. After destroying some cables, reaching the Craggle and getting caught, we reach the final section of this level, the Think Tank. This section starts with Batman and Vitruvius getting free and having to work together to free their allies as they fight off Lord Business's army. My favorite part about this whole level is that in this section, the monitor in the background basically becomes a jumbotron and displays graphics that treat this like a sporting event. So Lord Business is just standing at the back of the room and will kick you away if you get too close to him. So that's neat. We also get introduced to a new enemy type, Robo-Skeletons. These bony bots are made of silver Lego and have laser eyes. You take control of one as Benny to free Metalbeard, by which I mean you lower the platform Metalbeard is on and he frees himself. Again, just like before, it feels like you're just using me to trigger a cutscene, but whatever. So he can actually destroy them. After that, we face the final challenge of this level.
Behold, the giant micromanager! And I know that technically that means I should just call it a manager, but that doesn't sound as scary.
When this thing enters the arena, it knocks out Metalbeard and captures Emmett and the robot Benny is controlling. Hey, Benny. Benny? Benny, get off the computer! You're not doing anything right now! Benny! Okay, so while Benny is busy being a waste of space, we need to figure out how to beat the giant micromanager. But don't worry, even with a completely inept idiot like Benny on our team, beating it is as easy as these 7 steps. Step 1. Have Vitruvius throw his staff into the socket above an arm. Step 2. Have Wildstyle swing on said staff to unscrew the arm. Side note, repeat steps 1 and 2 for the other arm. Step 3. Use the robot that Benny refuses to stop controlling to shoot the giant micromanager's gold claw taser thingamajigamabob. Step 4. Use Batman's grappling hook to knock it down. Step 5. Use Emmett to drill into its head. Step 6. Question why they bothered to include Unikitty in the first place because there wasn't a single part of this level that required her. Step 7. You've won! Yay! Step 8. Vitruvius dies and we get caught. Aww. The level ends with our characters being restrained and imprisoned. Just how will they get out of this predicament? We get free through the continuity ignoring hub worlds. I'm not even joking. It shows them being captured, and then in the hub world, it just has us running around and solving puzzles. Must be the guard's lunch break or something. After solving said puzzle, we start the next level and are back to being restrained. Guys, make up your mind. Are you imprisoned or not? The next level is broadcast news, and oh boy, do I have something to say about this one. Forget the alarm, I'm going in depth for this one. Do you remember that whole tangent I went on about the depths and how its events were completely original to Lego the Lego Movie Videogame? Well, this level does something that I would argue is worse than making up events during an adaptation. It balloons what was originally a short, uninteresting sequence into a slog that grinds the story's pacing to a halt. You want to know what happened during this portion of the film? Wildstyle interrupts Where Are My Pants, throws pants at a guy, gives a minute-and-a-half speech, and Benny builds a spaceship in about 10 seconds. That's it! But in Lego the Lego Movie Videogame, they let the episode play out. In fact, you have to play the sound effects for it. They set up a whole minigame for it in which you have to press buttons in the correct order to play sound effects for the show, and we just go along with it. Stopping a man from covering the world in glue can wait. We gotta save cable TV. After that, Wildstyle and the others go through and set up 3 different cameras in very specific positions. Bad Cop shows up and helps them reach a server farm, all while using Good Cop's voice, might I add.
Hey man, what kind of spaceship? Oh, you know, big, blue, pointy, the kind that looks like it's from the 1980s.
So Benny can build a spaceship from 3 different servers after fighting waves of robots. They took a roughly 4-minute section of the film where very little action happens and turned it into a slog that takes almost 14 minutes to beat if you're rushing through. Now, what you're watching was my initial playthrough of the stage that was a little rusty, littered with mistakes, and I swear that one was an accident. I got that almost 14 minutes when I replayed the level as fast as I could, just trying to get to the end. I don't have any footage to prove that I did, but I took a picture of this timer on my phone. Is that enough proof? Everything that happens in this level could have been explained in a cutscene. And if they needed to make a level for this section of the film, I think the 20 seconds of Benny flying a spaceship back to Bricksburg would have made more sense as one. Maybe so, but it has a lot more action in it and includes more locations, which in my opinion are this game's best aspects. And to top it all off, it's a bit more engaging of a premise than setting up a news studio and playing sitcom sound effects. Oh no, truth be told, I couldn't care less. I just needed something to talk about because this level doesn't really have anything going for it. It doesn't ruin my day and I'm not going to lose sleep over it. On to the final 3 levels. But before I talk about that, I just wanted to also point out they actually changed the hub world to reflect the film in this section. Why weren't they doing this the whole time? Okay, now really on to the next level, Back from Reality.
Ah, real child jump scare.
The real scary part is this kid is old enough to vote now. Anyways, for real, Back from Reality. After Emmett meets with the only actor from the film whose likeness was used in Lego the Lego Movie Videogame, he immediately gets sent back to Bricksburg to help. Also, Emmett is master builder now. The next few levels, like the depths, depict events that are 90% original to Lego the Lego Movie Videogame. But I will give them a pass because it is a lot more entertaining than setting up camera equipment and playing sound effects. This one starts with Emmett waking up back in Bricksburg and teaming up with a firefighter named Justin Furno. After you remove a downed power line from a pool of water, Justin is able to fill up his fire extinguisher. As a firefighter, he is able to put out fires. Not anymore, I just took the power line out. Where was I? Oh yeah, he's able to use his fire extinguisher to put out fires, but he has a limited supply of water. If he runs out, you'll have to take him back to some water so he can refill it, and moving to a new room will empty it out. After you get past the fire, we find Gail. Remember her from the start of the game? Because she doesn't remember us. Well, regardless of that, we have to rescue her from 2 micromanagers. These ones simply charge at wherever you're standing in a straight line. So, after digging a hole, whatever this was, and tricking the micromanagers into the hole, Gail joins our team. The first part was basically them easing us into these new characters, because now you have to put everything you've learned into action. Drill cracked tiles, put out fires, climb up walls, do that second thing again. Did I mention there's a lot of repetition in Lego the Lego Movie Videogame? Eventually, you'll destroy a support beam on the 2nd floor of a building to beat some robots, causing the building to collapse on the 1st floor specifically. Something about that doesn't sound right to me, but I'm not a construction worker, so I can't really say if that's correct or not. Now that the building is toppled over, we find our way to the floor that was in the establishing shot earlier. They did it again. I love the attention to detail in this game. Get some toilet water, put out a fire, moving on to the final section. We have to get objects in place for Emmett to build the giant mech that he had at the end of the film. Unrelated note, I drew a duck in my script, here's a picture of it. The level ends when we finish building the mech, and it's... credit where it's due. The mech in Lego the Lego Movie Videogame is based on one of the actual Lego sets made to promote the film, but when you compare it to the film's version and the cutscene that immediately follows, there is a noticeable difference. I guess the camera just adds a couple pounds, and inches, and pieces. Let's just move on to the penultimate level, Bricksburg Under Attack. Or as I like to call it, the part of Lego the Lego Movie Videogame where the developers remembered they were allowed to use DC characters. Superman, Green Lantern, and Wonder Woman show up and help you out during the battle in this level. But they're just sort of haphazardly thrown in and feel very tacked on. At the start of the level, Superman just shows up to help Emmett because he's used to saving the world or something like that. His abilities include flight, heat vision, and invulnerability. And one of his inabilities is shutting up.
I mean, I don't like to boast about it, because I'm also really humble. Like, super humble. Because I'm Superman.
Taste justice, evildoer.
Come on, pick up one of those vehicles.
Your days of destruction are over. You are finished, mister.
You need to use Superman to destroy one of these pipes that are cragglizing Bricksburg. He uses his heat vision to destroy the gold plating, and then you, as Emmett, have to throw an oil tanker into the cracked pieces underneath. After that, Green Lantern shows up, which makes Superman leave, so we're working with Hal now. Like Superman, he flies and chatters non-stop, but he has his own powers, building with green bricks, shooting little green pew-pews, and crippling insecurities. This whole building with green bricks thing, it's only used once in this entire level, and one other time in the entire game. During a free play section. But in this level, we just use that ability to make a hammer. That hammer breaks a tube, we throw a trailer at said tube, and then it's on to the next section. The last section has you playing as Wildstyle, Benny, and Wonder Woman, who feels especially tacked on because, unlike Superman and Green Lantern, she is not acknowledged by the other characters at all. She can fly, spin, throw her tiara, use her lasso to grapple onto yellow hooks, and run in place for some reason. Seriously, why is she doing that? I'm scared. After you save some plumbers from some micromanagers, you scale the building to knock down a satellite dish. You then use that to build a computer to help you break down the last pipe. And you know we're getting close to the end now. They pulled out all the stops. Now you gotta press 3 buttons in the computer minigame. With the last 2 broken, we move on to the last level. The final showdown. The last level of Lego the Lego Movie Videogame. Here, Emmett is joined by Unikitty as they take on the final boss. A giant box with spider legs and a TV screen. It sends in waves of robots that you have to defeat before the boss exposes its weak points. Unikitty also receives a buff for this level only. Angry Kitty mode is permanent, and she can now shoot out a stream of fire that will break gold Lego bricks. Also, she trash talks now.
Not so tough now, are you? I am unstoppable! I'm gonna get you!
I don't get why he just turns to show you his weak spot after you beat a wave of enemies. There's no reason for him to do that. I guess he's just being a good sport, like, alright, you earned it. This really feels like a climactic event with other master builders showing up and offering assistance. A magician gives you ammunition to throw at him. Superman carries Unikitty to the 2nd and 3rd phases, and Gandalf has 16 words of spoken dialogue. Todd is moving up in the world.
Sorry, can't stick around. I hear some justice 2 blocks over.
I understood that reference. At least I think it's a reference. I don't see why he would use the word injustice if it wasn't. There are other words that mean the same thing that aren't as specific. Oh, right, we're almost done. The 2nd phase is largely the same as the 1st phase, but this time Emmett and Unikitty are separated. You have to melt off the gold tiles as Unikitty so that Emmett can throw a gas tanker at the cracked pieces underneath them. On to the final phase, and this is where things change. Emmett and Unikitty are back on the same platform, but Lord Business is now using regular robots instead of micromanagers to fight you. But these are just a distraction. You don't have to worry about the waves anymore. Instead of firing a barrage of rockets at you like he did in the prior phases, Lord Business now attacks you with the spider legs. He's only got 2 in play, and you gotta take care of both of them before you can take him down. He'll strike at you 4 times with the leg closest to you and get stuck on the 4th attack. Once it's stuck, you wail away at it until you deal enough damage for it to fall off. After they fall off, you throw them right back at him. After you throw both legs at him, he turns around, you pull him towards you, wail on him, and then you win. That's it. The ending of the film plays. Well, except for... And that's the end of Lego the Lego Movie Videogame. Or is it? Yeah, okay, yes it is, but there's still one more thing to cover. After sitting through 8 minutes and 19 seconds of techno music hell, I had to know for sure if it was the only song used. I regret my choice, but still. After escaping agony, we are taken to the bonus room, which right before our eyes is transformed from the black void of Emmett's mind to a massive bedroom belonging to Finn, the little boy from the film. This is without a doubt my favorite environment in the entire game. It's just a massive sandbox for us to run through and explore to our heart's content. Or just cheese through a Superman like I did. It's packed with so many details, like the hub world portal being the magic portal tube from the film, or that they actually do have an iPod shuffle like Lord Business said. You can even use it to listen to some of the game's music. Also, because this is here, they had to include an entire Apple licensing spiel in the end credits. That almost made it worth it to sit through the entire credits. Almost. Everything is awesome. The room is also covered in Lego memorabilia. Posters, stickers, multiple copies of the same 4 different books. I don't think you need 8 copies of the Lego Ideas book. And darts! That one doesn't even make any sense. Although most of the decor is only based off of 2 themes. Lego City and Jump up, kick back, whip around, and spin! Sorry, I don't know what came over me. And Lego Ninjago. And then we'll jump back, do it again. Ninjago! Ninja! There are some stickers for Lego aliens and zombies, but all the major stuff is one of these 2 themes. I kind of understand the focus on these 2 themes. They were probably their most popular themes at the time. Heck, both of them are still running to this day 10 years later. But there really isn't much variety here. I mean, they had other themes running at the time that they could have included, like Chima, or the Mixels. The frickin' Mixels! Regardless of that, this is a really cool environment to explore and platform through. Or just fly through with Superman like I did. A child's bedroom from the perspective of a Lego minifigure. That's incredible. It's stuff like this that this game does amazingly. Also, why does this 8-year-old boy get a computer in his room? When I was a kid, I wasn't even allowed to have a TV in my room. That's not the game's fault or anything, it's just something I'm salty about. Screw you, Finn, acting like you're better than me! After months of work, I have finally finished my review of Lego, the Lego Movie Videogame. I guess I had trouble writing this just because I didn't have as much fondness or passion for this game as I did for the SpongeBob SquarePants movie game. That's not to say that you only have to deal with it a little bit longer. We're almost done. Lego the Lego Movie Videogame isn't a bad game. It does fall short in a few areas, though. An abundance of filler characters, quite a few technical issues, the weirdly active attempt to avoid using the film's soundtrack. Seriously, this game was made by a Warner Bros. Owned studio. The film was made by Warner Bros. Animation. Why did they have to make these cheap-sounding substitution tracks? And certain parts are just drawn out unnecessarily. But this game excels at a bunch of other things, like the environments looking like actual Lego sets, the animations, the attention to detail, and the core Lego gameplay is just as fun as always. Lego the Lego Movie Videogame is a solid B+. It's enjoyable for what it is, and it held my ADHD impaired attention span for the duration of the game. Now that this is done, we can move on to the final video of this batch. Next time I'll be talking about Transformers Revenge of the Fallen for PS2. That one might also take a while to come out. But I have an excuse this time. I don't have the footage recorded. No. No, I don't.